Hello and welcome to this latest workshop on how to promote your experience, funded by Norfolk County Council's European Union Interreg Experience Programme and delivered by Unmissable England. My name is Chris Brandt. I'm the founder and director of Unmissable England. We're a company helping businesses across the country create their own bookable experiences, and we help them with marketing and distribution. This workshop is really a snapshot of the best moments from our workshop that took place earlier on this week. And here's what's coming up in the session. We're going to look at actually creating your own mini marketing strategy and plan. We'll talk to you about distribution and the importance of being bookable. The Experience Project is very much about creating new product in the low season. So we'll talk to you about actually how to market those experiences to reach new audiences in that typical low season between March and October. We'll also look at Google and actually how to make the most of your Google search facilities on there, and also Google Maps and Google Ads as well. We'll look at the importance of reviews and why they really do matter, and I'll share with some data with you from Visit Britain on the latest international visitors looking to return back to the UK. Now, if you joined me previously in any of these workshops before, you'll know that I go on about being bookable and how important it is to be bookable. And 65% of the UK domestic audience back in 2019, before the start of the pandemic, were booking their experiences and activities way before leaving home. Now, obviously, during the pandemic, we've all got used to booking everything we do, more or less. So that 65% is only going to increase. So it's really, really important that your experiences and activities are bookable for your guests. So when we're talking about marketing and promotion, it's not just good just to tell your potential customer how great your experience is, but you've got to make it bookable for them. So having your experiences through different websites and booking platforms, as well as your own website, is really important. But some of the traditional methods of advertising and marketing are also still important. So your leaflets, adverts in magazines and newsletters, bedroom browsers, all of that combination is really important as well, because yes, we do know that over 65% of the domestic market are booking an experience way before leaving home, but there is a percentage of people that still look for last minute experiences. And as long as you can deliver and host experiences last minute, and if you've got your experience on sale or a leaflet in the local visitor information centre, you will need to expect those bookings to be much sooner and much later than what you get through booking online. So one thing I will say, it's very much about digital we're talking about tonight, but some of those traditional methods of advertising and kind of doing adverts and editorial and magazines is important. So make sure it's part of your marketing mix. And that brings us on to your marketing strategy, your marketing plan. Now, many businesses we're working with across this project are small to medium-sized businesses. So you're probably going out, running your experiences, running your activities, and you won't necessarily have time to actually really spend that much time you would like to on your marketing and promotion. So we suggest to you to create your own mini marketing strategy and marketing plan. When it comes to marketing, there are really 5 main marketing themes. They are product, place, price, promotion, and people. If I quickly just take you through those 5 marketing P's, product is your experience, your activity. So when you're talking about this in your strategy, you need to think about the real benefits of your experience. What are the unique selling points? What's really special about your experience, the key moments? So actually write those down and really have a clear understanding what your experience is about. And if you've got many different experiences and activities, do this for each. And this will help you to actually, when you come to market and promote your experience, talk up your experience. So it's the benefits and those key features of your product. The place isn't necessarily where you're going to visit on your experience, it's how it's going to be bookable. So where are you going to have your experience bookable? Is it going to be bookable for your own website? Is it going to be bookable from Airbnb, TripAdvisor, Unmissable England, Expedia, with your local tourist board? Have a think where you want to distribute that and how easy it's going to be. Now, I always say it's good to be bookable in as many places as possible. So don't just rely on your own website or Airbnb or TripAdvisor. Make sure you're using various different distribution sources so that more people can find your experience. And price. Now, depending on the size of the group, if it's an adult or a child, the time of the year, all these different things matter to the price of your experience, especially if you're just starting out. You probably want to start lower your pricing at the beginning because you might not necessarily obviously have reviews, and reviews are really important. We'll come on to those shortly. So for your pricing structure, create that structure that's very much about actually starting a little bit lower than you feel probably comfortable with, but be prepared to actually increase your pricing over time. And your promotion is very much about how you're going to actually take your message out to reach customers. Are you going to be using social media? Are you going to be doing advertising? Are you doing boost ads on social media? Are you looking at your search engine optimization ranking on Google, etc.? So think about how you're going to promote that. And as we were talking earlier on, that marketing mix is important. So digital, yes, really important, but don't forget some of those traditional methods as well. And the people are the people that kind of you're designing this experience for. So is it for older couples? Is it for families? Is it just for kids? Who is your audience? Think about that audience. If it's an audience that you're trying to engage for that lower season, think about how you can attract that audience as well. So we have spent a lot of time looking at this in our previous session. Do have a look at our resources, which there is a link on the website, where you can see more about how to reach new markets, new international markets, and new domestic segments as well. That will help you. So products, place, price, promotion, and people are our 5 Ps. And if you do a Google, you'll find out much more about that. But hopefully that's giving you a focus on those 5 key moments in your strategy. But now I'm going to make it a little bit clearer still. So at number 1, your story, as it is important in your own delivery of your experience, is actually important in your marketing. So in our previous storytelling workshop, I spoke to you about how important it was to start your story, not just at the beginning of the experience, but at the beginning of your marketing. So don't wait for your experience and your storytelling to actually start during that experience. Actually start describing that story and storytell through your marketing, through your messages and communication. So start introducing that story in your promotion, in your imagery, in your text and copy as well. Now, a picture says 1,000 words, and a picture of your experience and people in that picture is also something that you should be doing. So here we've got a picture on the screen there of Paul Dixon. He runs his experiences across Norfolk, especially in Norwich, and this is his Norwich Cathedral experience. There he is in the picture with his group of guests. People like people. So if you've got pictures of a landscape or a church or a village or a city scene, they're nice, but they don't necessarily show off the product. They don't necessarily show off the experience, and people want to see other people doing what they will do. So if you can get your friends and family or a professional photographer or somebody that just likes taking pictures to take some pictures of you doing your experiences and activities, this will really help with your marketing. So lots of pictures of you, the people, your guests, get guests to take pictures as well. At 3, when you're describing your experience, describe the feelings and emotions that your guests will have during and after their experience. So don't just tell them, don't just market your experience saying, oh, you're going to be doing this and that from A to B to C. That's good, but actually describe those feelings of how guests will feel and the emotions they will have as well. Talk about those relationships that you will have with your experience, with your guests on the experience, the engagement. and hopefully brand new friendships as well, not just between you and your guests, but with other guests, between guests on experiences. And at 4, it's very much that call to action. Book now. Make sure you've got a bookable link when you're on your Facebook or your Instagram or your Twitter, in your advertising generally as well. Don't forget to include that. It sounds really straightforward, but so many businesses will talk about their experience but won't have a real clear solution, a call to action of how to book. And in our previous social media workshops, we did tell you to actually not to be too over the top with the call to action with book now, but you do need to make sure it's in your strategy, in your plan at some point, because obviously that's what you're here for. You want to get bookings. So sometimes you will need to put it straightforward in your messaging, in your comms, and say, here's how you book, here's the link. And at 5, make sure you get lots of reviews, and make sure they're raving reviews as well. So when you got your guests on your experience, keep telling them at the end there to actually go away and actually make a review, but create a review on your website and all the other different review sites that you might use. That will help you get more people on your experience. You can then share that review on your social media, on your website, etc. They're great endorsements for your experience. People like other people doing their experiences. They check out the reviews before booking. They'll give you great credentials to your experience. So that's our mini marketing strategy. There's lots to take away in there, and actually just spending some time on those 5 points will help you create your own plan. Let's move on to distribution then. So when we're talking about distribution, we're talking about how to actually have your experiences bookable on other websites and other platforms. There's a list of them there: TripAdvisor, Unmissable England, Airbnb, Booking.com, Get Your Guide, Expedia, and Viator. And there are many others out there as well. So we call those online travel agents, and they all take a service fee, a commission. Now that service fee, that commission, is a part of your marketing budget. It's not an addition. So I really encourage you, if you're going to be working with online travel agents and platforms, is not to add on a percentage after you've sorted your pricing. When you're working on your pricing now, think about that commission. Now, generally, most commission is around about 20%, and you might think, gosh, that's a lot. But some of these online travel agents are huge. They're global, they're targeted, they're very specialized, some of them as well. They will reach those customers that you simply can't reach with your own budget, unless you're really, really big and you have a big marketing budget, which I'm guessing most of us do not. So you will need to pay that commission in order to reach those bigger markets, that bigger customer base. So actually factor that in now and keep your pricing across the board exactly the same. So if you have your own website, make sure that 20% is still factored in, but that 20% is going to come to you as well as your other percentage that you're going to be coming in profit. Now, more and more, there's booking widgets to actually put on your own site. So you might get some scripts or some coding to put on your website. So Airbnb does this, TXGB, we at Unmissable England have this as well, and other platforms and websites do as well. And actually, it's what this allows you to do is actually take bookings direct. Now, most will lower the commission because you have got that booking and they have visited your website. So you shouldn't be paying the full 20%, say. So it's good to actually shop around and see what the best widget platform is for you. Again, we've spent a lot of time looking at distribution. If it's new to you, I would urge you to have a look at the Resources Hub, and you'll see our Experience Maker workshop on there, and that will describe a bit more about the commissions and the different types of online travel agents and distribution platforms there are. And there's also much more information in our toolkit for that on how to reach new markets. Talking of markets, we are very keen to see new experiences created for that low season. So when we talk about the low season, we're talking about between October through to March, so autumn and winter. And not just in Norfolk, but across the country and many destinations around the world. You'll see fantastic, lovely summer, sunny beach scenes like this, taken in the summer. Looks lovely, and it's great. It's great to see, and that will really encourage guests to book. But we know that visitors come to Norfolk all year round, and we know in England it doesn't always look like that. And actually, that's really interesting to actually work with that and actually think, how can we actually take advantage of that low season and actually some of that seasonality that actually, the autumn leaves and the winter, the snow, the frosty scenes, those kind of things that are also really special and really nice. Now, I have guests on some of my own experiences come from Australia and America, and actually coming in November to where I live in Oxfordshire, they love it. A bit of mist and a bit of fog. It's really different from back home in Australia or Florida. So it's all very relative to where they're from as well. So I always say, why do if visitors come to Norfolk and Britain all year round and have short breaks and weekends away, why do we always pretend it's summer? Why do we always pretend it looks like the summer? Because it's not. Because actually, sometimes it looks like this. So actually, using images from the autumn and winter and a bit of a misty day is okay, as long as they're good quality pictures and stunning images that will help promote your experience. Don't be afraid, don't shy away from a kind of a wintry day or a frosty scene or an autumn scene. These are great to use in your marketing, and you're starting to actually then appeal to those people who do want to travel out of season. They want to go away from those crowds of people in the summer. They want to have a short winter break. They want to get away from the city. And actually using imagery like this will actually help you reach those audiences. So that's our first thing. Make a collection of images and films that you have dedicated to that low season, and start using those pictures from throughout the summer. Don't wait to the actual autumn and winter, because we know people book in advance. So actually use search terms as well on your own website and social media. Things to do in the winter in Norfolk, Norwich, etc. And you'll get something similar to this in the search, and you'll get pictures, hopefully, of your own experience or activity or accommodation in the winter scene. And again, hopefully lots of click-throughs as well. And get featured and include editorial on tourism websites and apps as well about what you're doing, about your winter, your low season experiences. So as I said, it's good to use those images. Make sure you're using them in advance. Don't wait to the winter or to the autumn to start using them. You can obviously use them then, but we know people book in advance. So 3-4 months before traveling, people are thinking about what they might be doing for a winter or autumn break. So, from August, start actually using some of those wintry scenes and actually talk up your experiences. There is a task for you to do in this activity, which you can also find in our handout, where we get you to actually list out your top 3 selling winter experiences that you might be selling at the moment, and write down the difference from those winter ones to the summer ones. And actually we look at how you can enhance them, and that will draw out your marketing message as well. You can find this activity, as I say, in the toolkit. So here's a reminder of that marketing mix: having your bookability on your own website, whether that's through a widget, distribution from an online travel agent or your local tourist board or destination management organisation, your social media, so Facebook, Instagram, etc. For the next part of this workshop, we're going to focus now on Google search, Google Maps, and the reviews, and also some ads as well. So we're all familiar with Google, and sometimes it can be really complicated to know actually how to make the most of it, and how to make sure you're using it to the full advantage that it has. So in this section of the webinar, we're looking at Google Maps and Google Search. Now, it is quite complicated, Google, because they're always changing how things work and how things look. So we're focusing on Google, Google Maps, Google Reviews, and Google Ads, and they're the 4 icons there on the left-hand screen. First of all, with Google Maps, we've seen a real pickup on the amount of visitors and guests actually using Google Maps to find activities and experiences. And just last week, I had a guest stay with us who was actually doing what I'm doing on the screen right now, and was actually searching around where we're based in Oxfordshire, looking for things to do. They were using the map to actually locate activities, venues, National Trust properties, etc., even accommodation. So it's really important, if you're not already, to have a pin on Google Maps so that you feature just like this example on the screen here, and your business is not missing out. So if you haven't done so already, you need to follow the next steps really to actually be found on Google, because there's some real advantages to be had. Now, the main thing I want to point out here, because there has been some changes in how you do that, Google My Business no longer exists. So if you have been using Google Maps and Google generally for your business, you will find there's no longer a Google My Business app. And in fact, all of the admin and all the stuff that you do behind the scenes with Google is now featured through Google Maps itself. So you need to log in to the Google Maps app, or on your desktop to Google Maps, to google.com/maps, and then you can access the admin side through that. But it's great to keep all your information up to date, your contact information, your opening hours, your description. It's where guests will find your reviews as well, so they can look you up, and they can also add their own pictures, and you can add your own pictures of your experiences and activities as well. So again, it's really good for marketing, because your guests, your potential guests, are looking you up, they're searching on Google Maps or on Google, and they're actually finding you and all the information about you. So it's like a mini website almost. So this is how it looks when you sign up to Google. It's quite straightforward, quite easy to do so. And as I say, if you haven't done so already, if you haven't got a profile on Google, whether it's Google Maps or Google Search, you really do need one, because there's so many advantages to do that. I also point out it's not just Google, because there's also Apple Maps, there's Bing Maps as well. So even though Google is the biggest and most people use it, it's also really good to go on to Bing Maps and also onto Apple Maps, and probably some other smaller maps kind of websites as well. It's good to, again, try and get out there as much as possible. So when you are searching on Google and adding your profile, there will be all that detail that you need to put in and add on there as well. Now, if you haven't got a fixed venue or a fixed location, it can be really difficult to get set up. So I advise you to use your own home address or an office address, and once you're set up, you can then select a region. So there at the bottom of the screen then you can see an example. This is one of the businesses that works with Unmissable England, Experience Cornwall Tours. They do tours and experiences right across the county of Cornwall. They're not just in one place. So they have, when you do a Google search, you can find them on the left-hand side of the panel of the search, and then without actually a pinpoint, they will show the whole of the county of Cornwall. So if that's similar to you in your business, don't worry. As I say, you can sign up, use a home address, and then you can select a wider region, whether it's the whole of Norfolk or it's a particular part of Norfolk. You can actually choose that as well. And if we just turn our attention to Google Ads, again, with advertising, you do need to spend quite a lot of money in order to be successful, to reach a good customer base that will turn into bookings. So I've just done a screenshot of Google search, and you can see the top searches there. You've got Barefoot Retreats, Norfolk Lodge Breaks, Norfolk Holiday Cottages at holidaycottages.com, and Airbnb. They're all adverts. They're all paying to be high up on the list on a Google search for Norfolk UK holidays, and many other search terms as well. So if you are thinking about actually doing some advertising on Google, you're going to have to really think about it carefully, because you need to put an awful lot of money to a Google ad to actually reap the benefits. And again, this comes back to distribution, because it's really interesting there. You've got some distributors like Host Seasons, you've got cottages.com and Airbnb. And this again is why you pay a commission to those providers, because they do the marketing for you. They might not market your own experience or venue directly, but they will market their website and platform where you will be found. So unless you're doing a special one-off event or festival, I would encourage you probably not to actually do Google or a search term ad unless it's, as I say, a festival or a special one-off event. If you are thinking about doing online advertising, and we mentioned this in our last workshop in social media, you might want to do a boost on Instagram or Facebook instead, where you put £30 to £50 and boost, and you can target that audience. I think that's probably where you will spend your money the best when doing that. Unless you have got a big budget, you know, Google Ads, brilliant. You can really target. You can actually have a pin on a map that's promoted, so it actually boosts on the map and it stands out a little bit more than most of the other pins. And as we see there in the listings there, you can come up nice and high before the other search terms and search results come up below those there on the ads. Now we're going to turn our attentions to the power of review sites, and we all know how important review websites are. They help guests generate that feedback. They can, you know, open up and continue that channel of communications with your customers. And just like how people like people in pictures, actually people trust their peers much more than their professional critics. So actually it gives them the confidence to go and book your experience. And also reviews are really good for search engine optimization, SEO, and for social media as well, because it's bringing new content to your website. So the way that Google search and other search engines work, they look for new content, new copy and text on your website. So if you haven't updated your website in a long time, you will fall in the Google ranking. But the great thing is when you're getting reviews and you've got that embedded on your website through a widget or just through one of the platforms or the review websites, that's going to be boosting you up in the search engine terminology to be actually in the search engine results to be found. As also, it's good for social media because you can then share those reviews for your Facebook and Instagram. Again, it's giving you that great exposure. Your guests are talking you up and sharing your activities or your experiences. And obviously it helps customers to actually choose their experiences and what they're looking to book. So a question for you is, you know, which review sites do you currently use and which ones do you monitor? Because actually these are 3 top review websites when it comes to tourism: Google reviews, TripAdvisor, and Facebook reviews. So if you haven't done so already, I would definitely make sure you've signed up to these review websites and that you're editing them and you're monitoring. So when I say about editing, they're not just all the reviews. You can make sure you've got your website link on there, you've got some pictures on there, you've got your details on there correctly. So you're also being alerted when the reviews come through. So the small examples on the screen there are all of Paul Dixon, who's a tour guide in Norwich. He's on all 3 sites and is, you know, got some great reviews on there, and he always responds back to those customers given those reviews. Now, if you're signed up to Airbnb or some of the other platforms, they have their own review functionality as well, which you'll also need to monitor as well. But if you haven't done so already, sign up to Google Reviews, TripAdvisor, and Facebook and monitor those sites. Now, none of us want a bad review, and you know, a bad review isn't great, but it can be turned around and you can actually use it to actually, you know, get back to a customer relatively quickly. But make sure that you acknowledge their actual complaint. You know, provide them with an apology, say that you're sorry, and take responsibility. Make sure you actually provide that explanation as well. And if you can, try and take that discussion offline. because to your future customer, if they see one bad reviewer at all the good ones, people are not stupid. They think actually maybe this person's just a bit of a moaner on your experience. But if they can see that, number one, you've responded, you've said sorry, you've acknowledged it, and you've actually tried to sort the problem out, that will really do you benefit, because most people, looking at reviews are sensible, and they will actually think, okay, this was just a one-off. If you do nothing, that's not so great. So obviously there's also some things on the screen there, not to be sarcastic, etc. I'm not going to go through all of them. They're kind of quite simple enough to understand, and I'm sure many of us are not actually doing any of that. But sometimes it can be really frustrating when you get a negative review and you think, I worked so hard doing this, but it might happen to us all. So actually be prepared, turn it around into a positive, and that can actually enhance your bookings as well. As we come to the end of this mini tour through our latest webinar, I just want to share some findings and some stats from Visit England, Visit Britain that was shared with Unmissable England recently. These are stats from a recent group, a focus group in various different countries around the world, on their interest on actually returning back to Britain and actually coming back and actually booking a holiday and doing various different experiences. So the first set of slides is looking at the short haul markets, and you can see the questions at the bottom of that screen there on actually in the next 12 months, the destinations they would be interested in going to, in the regions, and you can see there the east of England is under London, under the northwest there, and you can see there the interesting markets, the markets that are interested in France, as well as a few others there, the Italians, etc. So these are the markets that we've been talking about previously, who might travel by the tunnel, through Eurostar, by train, connecting to London, come up to Norwich and actually start exploring Norfolk itself and doing your wonderful experiences. The next slide looks at the types of leisure trips that short haul markets are looking for. The Germans there, 52%, really love the coast, which is great to hear because Norfolk has a lot of coast and good quality landscape coast as well. So again, in the future or right now, start thinking about the different markets, because they are slowly returning through the pandemic, and actually start thinking about how to market to those different markets and segments. Here's their levels of interest with their various activities and experiences that they're looking to do, again, which is really encouraging, from the types of activities, the cultural things, the outdoor nature, the history and heritage. The French there are really passionate and interested about those top things, about actually exploring those more cultural activities. And finally, this is how those international guests are looking to book. They're looking to book through online travel agents and tour operators and travel comparison websites. So again, it just goes to show how important it is to make sure your experiences are bookable through different various websites and booking platforms. As I say, all the data in these slides is shared with you in our resources hub. And that brings us on to the end of the session. This has just been a mini tour for our most recent webinar. Our next webinar is Greening Your Business, a practical guide on sustainable tourism, and that's coming up on the 14th of June at 10 o'clock, or in the evening at 6 o'clock on the 16th of June. Thanks very much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you at the next session with Norfolk County Council's Experience Programme. Thank you.